Hi everyone, it's Meg Salter here from Auridian Training and Consulting. I have been getting a lot of requests for help with resumes recently, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I've probably got about 300 in my inbox at the moment, and I'm also getting little like, have you got my emails, sort of emails on top of those as well, and I've probably written, close to 100 now, I'd say, for various people. And I obviously can't get back to everyone, and I've enlisted help, and we're now at the stage where they can't get back to everyone as well. And so it occurred to me that what we should probably do is do a webinar with a couple of resume experts. So you guys are a little bit, you've got a bit more information and you are equipped to start to pull something yourself together. So I'm incredibly lucky today to have Kate Bartlett with us and Philippa Baker. Again, they are going to do a little bit of an intro for themselves in a second. But they are both recruiters. And so what I wanted to do is I really wanted to focus on how we could make your resume stand out. So we know that unemployment is really high. We know that it could get higher when JobKeeper ends in Australia. And we know that there's going to be a lot of people going for every role that comes up. So it is incredibly important that you are putting forward a resume that really does describe you, but it is going to catch the attention of a recruiter straight away, and it is going to make them want to keep reading. So the focus of this is, and I've got a whole heap of questions I'm going to ask, which are basically pointed to how do people write a rockin' resume that is going to get them on the callback list. So Philippa, can I get you to introduce yourself? Thank you so much for joining us and giving up your time. I love the piano in the background. You look very professional.
Just trying to make it look like we're this amazing Zen family. You should see behind the computer. Well, I'm Philippa Baker, obviously. I run my own recruitment business in partnership, actually, with my husband. His side of the business is medical imaging, medical devices, and my side of the business is travel. Prior to running this business, I spent about a lot of years, actually, I won't name them, but in the travel industry myself, predominantly within cruise. So, I read resumes all day, every day. So I'm pretty well versed to tell you what you should and shouldn't do.
Fantastic, beautiful. And we've got gorgeous Kate as well with us, who interestingly also reads 50 million resumes every day, but she would be Philippa's client. So Kate, where do you fit in?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did start in recruitment. So I have worked in recruitment for a couple of years, and then I moved across into an internal HR role. So I've been in HR, people and culture as we're now called, for, going on nearly 14 years now. So yeah, I have a lot of experience working with recruiters, which always makes our life easier. But often we are told that we can't use recruiters, and therefore we need to go through that whole recruitment process ourselves. So yeah, especially at the moment, I feel like I've got a lot to add to this topic.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So I've got a whole heap of the tricky questions that everyone wants answered, and I'm literally just going to go through them and flip to you guys. We're going to try and keep this as short as we can, although we all love talking about these topics. So I'm going to play timekeeper. If there are any questions that you do have that aren't answered in this, though, please feel free to just put your question in the comments on this post, and one of us will get back to you. We'll all be tagged in it, so you will actually have access to us. But first of all, I'm going to throw it to Philippa. What are your, just in general terms, quick overview, your biggest turn-offs and your biggest turn-ons when you are looking at your resume or a resume?
Okay, we'll start with turn-offs. Cut and paste of somebody's job description.
Oh,
It's a real turn off. You need to use your job description, but you need to personalize it. And I can tell immediately if someone's just cut and paste that, because I write job descriptions as well.
oh my God.
Spelling and grammatical errors.
Oh yeah.
If you can't spell check your own resume, then you don't have any attention to detail, and you need that in every role that you'll ever do. When you don't show your achievements, I don't necessarily want you to tell me everything you do in a big long list. I want you to show me what you've achieved in that, and through learning about your achievements, I can see exactly what you do. This is personal. I don't particularly like resumes written in the third person. So Philippa has over 10 years experience. For me, that's a personal turn off. And
I've got to redo mine then.
I like numbers and stats. I don't like when people say etc. or various or multiple, because that doesn't really tell me anything. And I think you're disadvantaging yourself when you do that. But turn-ons, and there are a lot. I like resumes that are clean, concise, and probably about 2 to 3 pages long maximum. Although I talk so much, I absolutely hate wordy resumes.
Yeah.
Big, long, repetitive lists that are just going over the same skills but written in a different way, which means you've cut and pasted them from lots of different places. Having your achievements is obviously a big turn on for me. It's almost as important as describing what you do, and also showing that you've been promoted throughout your career or within certain companies, and also if you've been rehired by the same company. I'm going to give a travel industry example because that's my background. People wouldn't know that Flight Centre, Escape Travel and Cruiseabout are all owned by the same Flight Centre group. So when you show that, they may think you've jumped a lot of roles, but in actual fact, you could have been promoted through the brands.
Yeah, right. Okay. Brilliant.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay. Kate.
Great.
Turn-ons and turn-offs.
Absolutely. So agree with grammar, spelling, absolutely. It's a big turn-off. Really loud block colours is something else that I find a turn-off. Like if people are putting their name or big blocks of colour down the side, like keep it simple and keep it clean. As soon as I've seen that, I don't want to read on, especially when I'm recruiting for architects, for instance, so very much a design role. A bad photo, and I know we're going to come to that later on, and an abrupt opening, an abrupt email attached to your CV is something else that I come across quite often. Which might be a language barrier. So having somebody else read your CV and read your even the email, your cover letter, of course, but even the email that you're writing, taking the time to write that properly so it doesn't come across as too aggressive. The things that I really like is attention to detail, achievements, of course, really good points of Philippa's, and a short CV. Don't need to have all the history.
Okay. We are going to obviously delve into those. Go on, one more.
Sorry about this. I don't like Word documents either. Unless you specifically need to send in a Word document so that it's picked up on software tracking, send it in PD format. So much cleaner.
Philippa, do you agree?
Look, and it may depend who you're dealing with. I think things look so much better as a PDF, so I agree on that point. But you need to have a Word copy yourself, because the recruiter's going to ask you for that, because they're going to want to delete all of your contact details and add their own logo and contact details for the client.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, be able to provide both. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. A second question. What is it that you notice first that makes you read on? So what's your very first impression?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go.
I'm going to be really honest, and this might be the difference between a recruiter and HR. I've been given a very specific brief from my client. Oh, so sorry. So sorry. I've been given a very specific brief from my client, So I will often just scroll to your most recent role and look at what you've been doing.
Okay, fantastic.
So I may not be reading that fluffy blurb that you've written at the beginning, so be mindful of that.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. Kate?
I do the same thing. I go straight to recent experience.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the first role that's most important.
Yes.
The last role you've done. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so third question, formatting. In terms of formatting, I'm going to just give you a couple of leading questions that I personally want answered. So in terms of sort of a Word document or just a plain document that's PDF'd or a template. So, you know, you can spend your time on Canva, because I personally hate fagging around trying to make this fit into that because it's only in that and all that sort of stuff. Fonts, any fonts that you love or hate, how many pages, you've both already mentioned that, and then colour. So do we want a splash of colour, etc., etc.? Over to you, Kate.
As I mentioned before with colour, no block colours, bold colours. If you want to use different colours for fonts, that's fine, but keep it really, really simple.
Yeah.
I really don't mind about the, sorry about that. I just have to click that off. I don't know if you can see that. I really don't mind about the font that's used at all. It doesn't bother me as long as the simple is clean and easy to read.
Right. Okay, fantastic. Philippa?
Look, I agree, to be honest with you. I don't mind. The format for me just needs to be very clean and easy to read. Probably would bold headings, but I wouldn't make them massive. And just use spacing. Bullet points are always quite good because they look very clear and concise. I think you could invest in having it formatted professionally. That's where somebody like Amanda would come in, and we'll mention her, I think, towards the end of this recording. But, you know, it's what it says and it's what it tells me, and that's what matters. But it needs to look good, but good can be very simple.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Photo or no photo, ladies?
I'm going to say, personally, no photo. It's just another thing, unless you're trying to overcome an objection, you know, unless you think that they're going to be ageist, but you look fantastic. Well, then why not add a photo? Personally, I wouldn't. The one thing I would say on this is go to your social media and update your photos, because I know it's bad, but people are going to look online. They're going to Google you and they're going to come up with images of you. So if your Facebook photo is you after a night out with 20 friends, and you look a little bit
shoes in one hand and a fag in the other.
Maybe just put a nice picture of you and the kids, or you and the dog, or whatever. So make sure that your social media presence is very clean, and also put privacy on all of your accounts so they can't read your posts or read what you've written on other people's posts, because it gives away a lot about you and it's not necessarily a positive thing.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I agree, to update LinkedIn so that you've got a nice, clean, professional photo of you on LinkedIn. You would be surprised how many people have a Facebook type of profile photo on LinkedIn. So that needs to be professional. It's a professional site. It's all about work. It's not a Facebook or Instagram. So that would be number one. I always check LinkedIn, always. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, then get one, create one. Yeah. Because a judgment will be made if you're not on LinkedIn.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
I don't mind photos on resumes, but I don't think it's necessary. I think that people will look up LinkedIn anyway as a matter of course. If it's a really great professional photo, then maybe put it on there, but I'd steer towards not.
Yeah, okay, great. The only time I did do one is I was doing a resume for a guy who is of Indian descent, and he's the coolest Aussie bloke, amazing experience, really well qualified, but it sounds like he arrived in the country about 5 seconds ago. So I thought we actually have to do something like highlight based on his name, So
that's good. That's overcoming an objection, and that's something I would always try and do in my resume. So it's good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Excellent. Phew. Should you include any links is question number 5. So should you include links, and if yes, what to? So I'm going to assume that LinkedIn is probably one of them. Kate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, LinkedIn, and then if you have a website that maybe demonstrates some of the work that you've done, so graphic designers, anyone in design area, then include those links as well. I'd include a link if you have another business that you used to run or you are involved in, then include links to that. So basically, if you can make it as easy as possible for the person reading your CV and the least amount of work as possible, then add the link. Again, don't social media. I guess that goes without saying, but add Instagram or Spotify playlist.
Okay. Philippa?
Yeah, agreed. I would always add the link to LinkedIn. Again, often that works better in a PDF as well. And to be honest, it just shows that you've got some technical ability as well. But test the link when you do it. Make sure it works. And as Kate said, make sure that your LinkedIn profile is one that's, your photo is a professional sort of headshot as opposed to you and the dog.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Key things to include in your introduction and bio. So I know we've all sort of got a bit of a bio on LinkedIn. Can we copy and paste that into here, or do we need to tailor it? What are we looking for? So Philippa, what do you look for?
I think your LinkedIn profile should complement your resume because it's the same person, right? So it wouldn't matter to me if it were the same. LinkedIn you would simplify because you're not going to really list your all the role in detail. You're going to be more about your achievements. Personally, if I would tailor that bio for every role I applied for individually.
Yeah.
I would pick out the keywords that they've asked for in the job description and also specifics that they've asked for in terms of numbers of years of experience or systems you've used or whatever. I would make sure I had mentioned all of those in that bio, but it would still only be short. And I would also use that bio if I needed to, if I didn't meet the criteria, but I still felt I'd be good at the job, I would use that bio to overcome that by saying, although I have 3 years experience, they wanted 5, I do come with a wealth of experience in this, and this that I can transfer across to this role.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Okay.
So when you're talking bio, you mean at the top of the CV?
Yeah.
So I would absolutely tailor it for the role.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't even think you need a bio on your CV if you've covered everything in the cover letter, because every cover letter you write should be explicitly for that particular role that you're applying for. And then I wouldn't even bother having a bio, and I'd just go straight to your experience, because one supports the other.
Okay. Fantastic.
I don't read the bios.
You don't read them, do you? No. Okay. Excellent. All that blood, sweat and tears. That's excellent. How far back should your professional history go? So if I used to work in a video store when I was 16, like how far back do I go?
Yeah. Don't go all the way back, and it really depends on how old you are. Obviously, the older you are, the more experience you have, and otherwise your CV would just end up so lengthy. The only time I would keep experience in there from perhaps 20 years ago is if it's really relevant to the role that you're applying for, and then I would have it on there. But if it isn't relevant, I wouldn't have it on there. So, for instance, I was a teacher for quite a few years, and all I have is a one line saying I was prior to this I was teaching, because there's no point in people and culture roles. They are not interested in my teaching background. It's an interesting fact about me that I used to be a teacher, but they don't need to know what I was doing in that particular role. So just only if it's absolutely relevant.
Philippa?
Yeah, agreed. And actually, I should clarify here, because when I wrote a post, I said you really need to include all your roles. What I mean from that is you don't need to tell me what you did when you were 16, but don't leave gaps in your resume. So if there was a role that didn't work out, you weren't there long, or you were made redundant or whatever, and you think, oh, I'm not going to show that because it looks terrible. You know, you will have to fill in those blanks when you're being interviewed. So be careful about that. And again, I agree. It depends on your age and what you've done and the relevance of that. You're probably not going to go back more than about 10 years if it's not relevant. But if you had some major achievements in roles prior to that, I might have a one-liner, list the role, and, you know, one massive achievement. Sometimes from people's work history, mine, for instance, I could probably go back a little bit longer, but I could go back 20 years, but I could condense that into one page. Yeah. But it would show that I had climbed the ladder throughout roles and been promoted. So it actually tell a really good story.
So it's not actually just a list, it is telling a story about what you've done, what you've achieved, what skills you could bring to this role. It's a tailored sales pitch. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Should you include referees?
On that. Sorry.
Oh yeah. No, go.
The other reason I think it's good to cut down your resume if you have years and years of work experience is that we do work in a ageist society. So I would recommend that you just cut some years off and just don't even put them in there.
Yeah. I don't look 45. No need to prove it. Okay, now referees. This one comes up all the time, and I can't believe the number of people, because I always say just make it easy for the recruiter. Always put your referees in. This whole on request thing as well. A lot of people say that that's absolutely fine, and to be honest, it might be quite professional. So what do you guys look for? So Philippa?
Yeah, look, I'm going to be really honest here. Quite often referees almost aren't worth the paper they're written on, because generally you know the person that's giving the referee, you know they're going to say good things about you, and generally they do. What your referees tell me about you is who they are, and so that's in some respects what relationship they had to you. If they were a co-worker, I know you've probably picked a mate who's going to say some great things about you. I want to see that they're your direct manager. So even if you don't want to list their name and contact details on your resume, you could say referees, Philippa Baker, direct manager, whatever company it was. That speaks volumes to me.
Yes, okay, great. So you can list them without the contact details.
If you want to, you can take it or leave it. It doesn't really matter to me whether they're on there or not, but I think the client will want to know who's going to give them a referee, all their managers from the last 3 roles. Then I know they're going to be great.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Kate?
I wouldn't list your referees. I don't think there's any need to. I would just say available upon request. It will make your CV shorter. If you've got to that point where you're having your references checked, then that's when I would then ask for those references and have a discussion around who would be the most appropriate person for us to contact. The other thing is as well, I think that you're better off not putting your references on your CV just to begin with, because some recruiters can't be trusted.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Okay.
And potentially likely to speak to those referees when you don't necessarily want them to mention that someone's looking for a role. You'd be surprised at things I've heard people say, things that have happened. And so I think that until you have agreed to move forward with that recruiter and that you actually want them to represent you, and you've had an interview with them and you sat down and you know how you want to work and how they want to work and you agree, then I would start talking about references with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe how many resumes I've stuffed up. That's great.
Also, sorry, another thing that happens in tight industries, like for instance in architecture and travel, when you have references on your CV, and look, it happens anyway because people talk. Yeah, they do talk. But I would just avoid having it on there to start with. I know it's a different situation at the moment now because a lot of people aren't working, and so it's not so relevant. But if you are in a role, I wouldn't put your references down when you're applying for another role, and just give them upon request, so that there isn't this mate-to-mate phone conversation happening.
Yeah,
on
okay.
site.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, great. Okay, 9, second last question. Should you mention side gigs? So there's lots of people at the moment who are starting to, you know, there's like Arbonne and Redan Fields and Isogenics and, you know, all of this sort of stuff. Or some people have just gone out and got sort of a casual job or a stepping stone. Do you mention that in your resume or cover letter at all? Any sort of side gig?
If it's relevant, yes. I mean, sometimes if you're running a side gig, are you going to actually put your focus on this job that you're applying for, or if your side gig picks up, are you going to ditch this job and run your own business? So I'd be very careful about what you disclose.
Okay. Great, Kate, you agree?
I agree with those comments. If it's in any way in direct opposition to the job that you're applying for, so a competitor, I wouldn't mention it. If you can be seen to be just taking this job until your business kicks off, I wouldn't mention it. And also on this topic, I wouldn't mention if you are part of the, you know, Young Liberal Club or the Young Labor Club or the Catholic Church or any personal information like that around who you would vote for, whether you're religious, not religious. I keep all of that private.
Okay, fantastic. And what is the information that is commonly missing in a resume? Is there anything that you'd love to see that you notice is quite often just not there?
Achievements.
Yeah.
Back to the achievements.
one word, achievements. To be honest with you, it's often not what's missing, it's that there's too much information.
Yeah.
And people need to make it concise, but also, you know, you don't have to do a total rewrite of your resume for every role, but you should be tailoring it to make sure that that it's applicable and it really addresses the job advert and the job description.
Yep. Okay, great. Kate, what's missing?
You'll be really surprised to hear this, but make sure you have your personal email and your mobile number on your resume.
Oh my God, really?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, right. Excellent. So make sure you're contactable.
And it's somewhere really easy to read as well, because again, when you're going through so many CVs and then you've got to trawl through and find it, and sometimes it's in a weird little corner on the last page, and contact information really clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Ladies, that's it. Have you got a final piece of advice, or have we covered everything?
I think we've done really well, and I think we've actually managed to keep it short and sharp, which is great. I mean, my final advice would be, you know, if you're worried about it, invest in somebody to professionally help you with your resume. And that doesn't mean somebody to actually write your resume, because your resume has to be from you, but somebody to help you with that. And you've got to, you know, start somewhere. And it's not expensive, and it is a really good investment. I would also you know, I'd follow up my applications sometimes, depends whether it's through a recruiter or directly to a company, but it doesn't hurt to follow up with a quick call just to say, could you send me a copy of the job description? I've sent through an application. I'm really interested in this role. It may mean that they talk to you. They think, oh, you know what? I was going to call her back anyway. I'll have a chat to her now. It might just bump you up the ladder.
Fantastic. Great. Kate?
Yeah, I agree. If you can, any reason to call, position description's a great one, or even to check whether you need the document sent in Word or PDF format, like any excuse to just call and speak to someone, because even if you're just speaking to the receptionist who isn't a decision maker in that process, so often I've had receptionists say to me, so-and-so called, their name is, you know, such and such. They were really lovely and really polite. And then I go, oh, okay, clocked. So when I'm looking through, I can look out for that person. So that's absolutely worth it. The other thing is, though, don't pester. Don't pester. If you start sending an email every day or every couple of days asking what's happening with your application, you'll be deleted. what I'll is just, there's too much going on. So there's a fine line between being professional and appropriate and being a pest.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say as well is, we mentioned it before, but absolutely tailor your resume to every job that you're applying for. And even though this is such a pain in the butt, I would just make those necessary adjustments to each resume, and especially with your cover letter, which I'm sure everybody knows. And also, I wouldn't put your home address on your CV either. Like, it's information that people don't need to know, and they might make a judgment about whether or not you'll be able to arrive at work on time because you live in the Central Coast, or they might make a judgment as to where you live, or whatever it might be. I wouldn't put your, I'd just put Sydney. Do you agree with me on that one? Although it's different for recruiters because you never put.
No. 100%. I, if you want to, if it's applicable because it's a job in the suburbs and you live really close, then you might just put Drummoyne, New South Wales. But I would never put your home address. And again, it's just another line. The other thing, you don't, when we said put your name, you're just going to put your name, your number, your email, LinkedIn, and that can take 2 lines. You don't need to say LinkedIn ... telephone ... we know that's a phone number, we know that's an email address. You don't have to describe everything. So they're just really simple tweaks that keep it simple and concise again.
Right.
Yeah, I think. And also, do we need to know which school you went to?
No,
I don't know if that's necessary either.
Right.
Unless you think it will work to your advantage, that perhaps you know that you went to the same school as the CEO, and so you think that might get you. That's up to you.
Look, it depends it depends which school you went to, and it depends what you achieved there. If you achieved something amazing there, and also if you're younger and you haven't got many other achievements, it's amazing how many people have got a responsible service of alcohol certificate. I don't need to know that.
Yeah,
it's not a skill, and it's not a part of your education. So you don't need a whole list of useless information.
Yeah, although I would say put first aid on there, because that is good to know that you've got that from in an office. It's really handy to know if someone's got first aid.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But not gluten-free or... No, I'm joking. Okay. Excellent. Oh my God, I have learned so much from this. This has been absolutely incredible for me. So what I am going to do is I'm going to tag both of you lovely ladies in this post. And if anyone does have any questions or anything that we haven't covered, then, because I've actually got some questions that I'm going to bail them up and ask now, but just pop a comment in and we'll make sure that one of the 3 of us does answer your question personally. There has been mention of a girl, Amanda, as well. She's come up. She has running a business called Wanderlust Resumes, and she's working with a lot of people in the travel industry just to really get their resume perfected, I guess, or finessed so that it is transferable into other industries as well. So we'll also just pop her details in for anyone in the travel industry who is stuck. If you do want to speak to someone else who might specialise in another industry, then just probably pop a comment in as well, and we'll do some research for you and we can hook you up with someone pretty amazing. So thanks again for your time. Kate and Philippa, thank you so much for your time and expertise. Being able to hear from the people who read these resumes exactly what they're looking for, I believe at the moment is completely, it's invaluable. So to everyone out there who is doing a resume, best of luck. I hope you've got a whole heap of information, and don't be a stranger if you do need more help. So over and out. Good luck.